Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and in this video I'm going to tell you what I've learned from the first day or two here of patch 8.3, specifically about horrific visions, because this is something that there's a lot of misunderstandings about what's important and how to do these best. So a last minute change that Blizzard made before pushing patch 8.3 to live was adding a cap to how high your cloak could be leveled up each week of this patch. So the first week you can only get your cloak up to rank 6, and every week afterwards you can get 1 extra rank on your cloak. A lot of people see this and are like, oh no, time gating, that's bad. But in fact, what this is doing is actually great. What it means is that you're no longer required to farm as many coalescing visions as possible to enter as many horrific visions as possible, because there's not too much benefit after you've gotten your cloak to your max rank for the week. And the second thing it means is if you mess up a horrific visions, if you fail to kill the last boss in one, then it's no longer the end of the world. You're no longer permanently behind compared to somebody who didn't mess up. You can just make it back up and you can still get to the max rank for that week fairly easily usually. So unless you're messing up multiple runs or you're falling far behind on not doing daily or bi-weekly or weekly objectives to get your horrific vision entrance tokens, you're going to be totally fine and you're going to keep your cloak up to date with everybody else. And that means that you can take a few more risks when you're deciding what side zones to attempt to do in horrific visions. So what are the side zones in horrific visions and what is the purpose of doing them? The reason you do side zones in horrific visions is because you'll get more corrupted mementos, and corrupted mementos let you research this tech tree faster, and the tech tree makes you more powerful, which then means you'll research the tech tree even faster. Once you finish this tech tree, you can then use corrupted mementos to purchase gouged eyes of N'Zoth, and these give you sockets on pieces of gear that don't have a socket. So rushing towards this is pretty valuable. Of course, keeping your cloak leveled is like the first priority. That's the thing that is most important, but it's no longer super important to have a 0% chance of failing the horrific visions. So let's talk about what kind of plans you can do for horrific visions. And then after this, I'm going to do a run on this character and show you what some of the important abilities are in the first 2 corrupted zones. So this has been what I've done with my horrific visions so far. You can see in this part of the spreadsheet here. On your first run, you always just go boss only because you don't have any sanity restoration orbs. But once you finish that first run, you can then research this first node in the tech tree that gives you sanity restoration orbs. These are extremely powerful, and it effectively quadruples the amount of sanity that you have for the purposes of the horrific vision. So that really increases how much of them you can get through. So on my second run, then I started doing side areas on all my characters. I did 1 on my Brewmaster, and I probably could have taken care of 2 because that character is fairly high damage. And I was able to even do 2 on my second run as Outlaw here. However, on my Blood Death Knight, I only did 1. I thought I could maybe take care of 2, but then on my next run, I tried to do 2, and I was too low damage to do it. It would have worked. If I was in a group, I probably could have done it. The character's sufficiently tanky, but I don't think it does quite enough damage to do 2 side areas that quick as a tank. So maybe I could have done it as Unholy or something, but not as Blood. Meanwhile, on my Brewmaster, I got an extremely powerful corrupted item that has the Echoing Void corruption, which does so much damage that I was actually safely able to do. Well, not safely, but I was able to do a corrupted and a lost area, which is the extra hard side areas, on my 4th run. And I'll explain what these side areas are in just a moment here. So this was doable, but it was very sketchy. I wouldn't actually recommend going this quickly to a lost area if you're playing solo. If you're playing in a group, you can maybe get away with it in a good group, but if you're playing solo, I think that this is probably faster progression than you need to do. So let me show you what my plans are then. Here I have written out a good plan for your first 6 runs this week, 6 runs to get your cloak up to level 6. If you mess up, you should be able to run a 7th and an 8th this week as well. If you mess up a run or 2, that should be possible, so you should be able to still get your cloak up to rank 6 this week. If you do not mess any runs up, you should probably just save up. After you hit that cloak cap for the week, you should probably just start saving up Vessels of Horrific Visions and stuff, and don't actually go into any more until next week, because you may as well just start stockpiling so that you have a little bit of a buffer for if you mess up some runs in the future. And it might be good eventually to have more than 4 runs in a given week. So that's probably the best play, but it's not a big deal if you end up not being able to carry over any vessels into the next week. The most important thing is just getting your cloak up if you can to the cap of the week. And even if you can't get your cloak up to level 6 this week, you'll probably be able to catch it up to level 7 next week, which is the cap next week anyways. So that will be fine too. Anyways, so my safe plan is for characters that are alts, are healer specs trying to solo, are just specs that have a hard time soloing, or you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. Just by doing this, you should be able to get your cloak upgraded to level 6. I'm not actually 100% sure. I think the upgrade for level 6 requires you to do at least 1 corrupted area. It might be 2, so you might have to try and either do a second run with one corrupted area, or get a second corrupted zone in on your 6th run. I'm not 100% sure about that. But either way, these first 5 runs being boss only will be totally fine for your cloak progress. You'll just miss out on some corrupted mementos, so your tech tree will level up a little bit more slowly. But at the end of the day, that's not going to be a huge deal for you. You'll be fine if you just want to play it boss only. You know, you'll be a little bit slower in adding those sockets to your gear, but progressing your cloak is going to work out just fine this way, and that's the most important thing. This medium safe plan is for characters that are, you know, okay to good, maybe high heroic geared, but not super mythic geared. Probably not the, like, best specs at soloing, but specs that can hold their own. Probably not, you know, like healer specs still. Healer specs, I think, if you're playing a healer spec, you should either play it in a group or you should play a fairly safe plan, unless you're a high damage output healer. So this medium safe plan, still everybody should just go boss only on their first run, and then after that you can start adding in these corrupted zones once you start feeling comfortable, and you can probably get to 2 corrupted zones. Once you get to run level number 6, you'll probably have one of these this powerful side node on your tech tree that gives you a cheat death effect, and this allows you to be a lot safer in pulling an extra corrupted zone, because it means that you won't get in this spot where, like, you're stuck in combat, so you can't use an orb, and that will get you in trouble. You won't get into that spot if you have this thing researched as much. Like, you'll get an out of jail free once. So I'd recommend that. I'd recommend getting to this node. If you're scared about taking on extra areas, get to this node before you start taking them on, and then they should be fairly easy. And then the hard plan here is for characters that are fairly good at soloing, you know, pretty quickly going up to 2 corrupted areas. And for the 6th run, once you have that cheat death, you can try taking on a lost area as well. Again, lost areas are spooky, so do be careful of that. But with the cheat death, it should be okay. And then the very hard plan, I'd recommend this for specs like druids, rogues that have stealth. Stealth is very powerful. Hunters as well. Specs that are very good at soloing and have pets that can tank, so stuff like Beast Mastery Hunter, maybe warlocks. Specs like Havoc Demon Hunter or high damage tanks as well can probably run this path as well, immediately starting off with this 2 corrupted play here. Again, you know, don't start a corrupted zone if you're going to be low on sanity, if you don't think you're going to be able to make it back to Thrall with like 50% sanity, and at least, then you need to be a little bit careful, and you can always just run away halfway through a corrupted area if you're in jeopardy, so I would recommend that. Alright, let's talk a little bit about this tech tree. So, if you're playing solo like I am, in most of my runs, you'll want to go down this left path, get the singular sanitation expertise, because that is good when you're solo and gets worse in a group, and then you get this cheat death thing. If you're playing in a group, instead you'll want to get expansive mind, which is better in a group and worse single player, and then get the synchronized mind stabler. If you're going to do a mix of content, it doesn't really matter, pick your favorite between these two. You should not finish this row though. Whichever row you finish first, you should then go down to clear sight so that you can make your way to elite extermination, which is very powerful. And then Vision Hunter, whether you're solo or not, you should go Vision Hunter. That looks a lot stronger than Experimental Destabilization. And then from there, you'll pick up Gift to the Titans, and then you can go back and fill out your tech tree, and then you can go start buying your sockets. So that's the progression plan for the tech tree, I'd say. So let me pick up my Singular Sanitation expertise since I'm playing solo. And I can't quite buy the cheat death, but that's okay. And let's do, this will be my character's 3rd horrific vision here that we'll do in this video. So this is the map of the horrific vision of N'Zoth, and these are the different side areas. So these are the corrupted areas, the 2 that are directly adjacent to Thrall's area and accessible from there. And these are the lost areas, the ones that are instead only accessible from the corrupted areas. So getting to a lost area requires clearing a corrupted area, or going through a corrupted area to get there. And then in those lost areas, you're going to drain 12 sanity per second, which is very fast sanity drain, and you got to be very careful of those areas. And the split personality madness is also dangerous. That can get you into trouble pretty quickly, so you do have to be pretty careful if you're trying to go into the lost areas, but clearing the 2 corrupted areas is fairly easy. I've now attempted all of these zones except for the Valley of Wisdom, which I've seen some other people attempt, and to me it looks like the easiest corrupted area is Zakan's area, the Valley of Spirits. So this, obviously the Tainted area is the easiest. The 2nd easiest, I think, is this corrupted area, this one to the side. The 3rd easiest, then, is this corrupted area. And then, of the 2 lost zones, the Rexar one over here, the Valley of Honor, looks easier than the Valley of Wisdom. I haven't actually tried the Valley of Wisdom yet, but I was able to get through the Rexar area, and it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So, wow, you get some warnings before it. Your map, it warns you about here. These are challenging before you're supposed to go there. If you have a low-level cloak, that's pretty funny. Anyways, let's do this run now. This is my 3rd run. I've already done 2 side areas on this character, and we'll do them again, and I'll point out the important mechanics as they happen. Right at the start, I'd just like to say I moved my sanity bar with an add-on called Move Anything. Very useful tool if you end up having this part of your screen full of, like, important weak ores or stuff. So if you're playing a rogue, you can just sneak right on through here. But if you're not, you're going to have to pull all this front stuff. I'd recommend getting these guards in your first pull and pulling over maybe to one of these shaman. The shaman are going to stand still and cast, so just standing on top of them, kicking them is a good play. Watch out for the break spirit from the guards. That's a frontal. And then they also have a cast, these guards do, that'll horrify you when it goes off. So kicking that or gouging it or whatever is good so that you don't end up having to deal with that horrify, because then they can kind of chain into each other and you can get crowd controlled for a while. So you take care of these guards and you're setting yourself up then to be able to go kill Thrall later. That'll open up this door to Grommash Hold, and you can now go kill Thrall at the start if you want. Like if that was a hard pull for you, you can just go do that. But if you're ready to go do some side areas, now's the time to go do that. So here's the Valley of Spirits, the first corrupted area that I think is the easier of the two, up over on the left from Grommash Hold. What I'd recommend doing is you run into here first, and I would just go and tag this thing immediately, Decimator Shikvoth, and pull it back over to where Zakan is so that you can AoE it down with these elementals. It'll like charge at you, and then you can just try and dodge that. Yeah, there's the Surging Fist, so you dodge that. That's a frontal charge, and then you can just kill it from there, dodging those little orbs that it fires. It fires an orb that then comes back at it, and you take care of that thing and make your way forward. You do need to kill all the enemies in this area. You can't just rush straight for Decimator in order to get Zakan to be freed, so that he can then come and take care of this little doorway thing. Okay, in this area now you need to cleanse some totems. So again, I'd recommend trying to pull a little bit big here, at least two packs. Depending on where this patrol is, you can grab that too. If it's not close, no big deal. You just grab what you can. And these don't do anything too bad. This Mental Assault looks bad, but it's really fine. It just does some damage, but you can kick it if you want. No big deal. And then you need to take care of these totems. As your sanity starts getting to like the 20% range, that's a good time to think about starting to pop your first orb thing. So using your sanity restoration orbs now, this is a fairly good time. You don't want to cut it too close because you can get caught in combat by various things. And so you want to leave yourself a little bit of a buffer so that you don't end up getting into too much trouble. One thing you can do is pull enemies onto the orb and fight them while you're not losing sanity. That can be smart, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to pull forward instead and do a nice big pull. Grab some friends. Again, this is the kind of thing that tank specs or tanky DPS specs are good for, because you can kind of get chain CC'd here if you're not careful. So like I'm going to cloak now for some defense. Maybe should have waited for my blood of the enemy before doing this. Just got to dodge all these swirlies. Oh, nice. The totem actually pulled me out of the way of them. That's fairly fortunate. Those totems like yoink you every time they finish their cast back into the AoE. Got to make sure you don't die here, because if you die, the run is over. So bring some health potions into these dungeon runs so that you can use those if you're about to die. Pulling big, though, is a good way to speed this thing up, because otherwise you're gonna run out of sanity. Like, if you're pulling slowly, you're gonna lose sanity a lot faster. In this area, you just have to watch out for these dark delusions chasing you. Kind of annoying if you're trying to, destroy a totem. They might almost reach you, but don't be too worried. They have to actually, like, connect with your body before they'll go off. All right, so now we have this mini-boss coming up here. Oblivion Elemental. This one is one that I think a lot of people don't actually understand how the mechanic works, given what it looks like. So what's going to happen is it's going to cast Hopelessness, which is going to like shear an orb from my body, a little golden orb thing. Here you can see this cast coming. Until I pick that orb up, I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'm going to be silenced. So you just run on top of that orb, it gets sheared off of your body, and then you can, again, cast and do things. You also want to dodge these little purple wave things, and the boss should do 2 of those Hopelessness casts before it finishes. I need to wait until those waves clear out. All right, there we go. Now we're going through to the second corrupted area. My corruption's looking a little, or my sanity rather, is looking a little bit bad here. So I'm gonna pop my sanity orb, my second one, before getting in combat with all this stuff. Just drop that little sanity restoration orb, and then we'll go in with one more orb into the drag. This area is a little bit more sketchy than the Valley of Spirits, so you do have to be careful. But it's not too bad. The main problem here is this twisted appendage. So this twisted appendage, it like goes underground into this little, it turns into that little brown swirly that chases you. And if that happens, it'll keep you in combat for as long as it's doing that, and it won't look like there's any enemies nearby. So a lot of people have gotten stuck in combat with that thing, right? They don't realize it's still an enemy that's after them. It's just under the ground. And so, be careful of that. If you're trying to use your sanity restoration orb, look out for like brown swirlies and try and kill that appendage as fast as you can. Anyways, in this area, you just kill that first thing. It doesn't do too much. It pushes you back, which is kind of annoying. Then you go on to this next area, and you gotta kill off these things. Again, I'd recommend doing a big pull if you can. So pull this thing forward into this next pack, because you're going to want these anyways. Another Twisted Appendage here. These are a priority to kill. Also got to watch out for those Decimators in the back, though this touch will stun you. So I'm just throw Between the Eyes over at it, and then killing off this Appendage. And that Decimator caster is a pretty problem thing as well. So we kill off all those things. And now we'll just go back and do our objectives. Just killing the mobs that are ahead of us, trying to do big pulls is a nice way to be efficient. Here, a good thing to do, if you're fairly low on sanity in this area, it hasn't lined up for me this run, but if I needed to use my last sanity orb, what you can do is you can pop it and then you can blow up this thing, and that causes an enemy comes out when you blow that one up. So it's good to pop your restoration orb and then fight this enemy while you're inside the orb. That's a nice little thing that can be useful. But I'll just take care of it real quick, and then we'll go on to the next pull. This is something you can pull forward as well. I've done that too. And you need to go onto these guys, and this is the last pull of the area before we get to the mini-boss. Just gotta destroy those, and then we click on 2 more buildings. My sanity here, this is gonna be my last sanity restoration orb. It's possible that I could engage this mini-boss without using it, but I think what I'll want to do is use the orb and then fight this boss while in the orb for a little while. I think that's gonna be the play. Got a little thing chasing me, that's kind of annoying, but yeah, this is going to work out well for me. Void Torrent there, just some little balls there that they'll stun you and knock you up. Yeah, that's okay. It costs a bit of sanity. This is a little DPS check, this shield thing you got to break through. If you don't have DPS for it, it'll just do some damage and some sanity damage to you, I think. But luckily I have the DPS, especially since I researched that plus 15% damage thing. And that is the end of this side area. So now I've still got 81% on my corruption bar. I could do a little bit more grinding of corrupted mementos, just by killing off some random enemies. But at this point, a good thing to do is also just running straight for Thrall and fighting that last boss. Okay, so here's Thrall. I've got 65% sanity. That should be more than enough. If you're low on sanity, you can always pre-pot and drums this. You can even change your specs before you fight him, so you could go to a single target spec if you wanted for these bosses. But I don't need to do that. One cool thing about Thrall is that he'll gain abilities and health for each enemy that you, for each side area you've done. So you'll see some more more abilities and difficulty on this fight as you start doing more zones, which is pretty cool. So here's his Surging Darkness cast. He just jumps to the middle, and then either the middle or the outer rings will be dark areas that you have to move out of. Then that's the Cries of the... Oh, that's actually going to go off. The little shield thing that was from that drag boss. There comes Hopelessness. That's the thing that shears the ball from me. And I just go pick that up. So again, just the same boss mechanics as some of the side area bosses that you've killed. And then you just gotta dodge that frontal, Seismic Slam, and keep on fighting the boss. And he goes down fairly quick if you're a high DPS character. It dies without too much difficulty. Ended up taking me 30% of my sanity to get through that. And that's the end of this Horrific Vision for me. Possible I could have done the Lost Area instead of one of those corrupted areas, especially if I wasn't slowing down and explaining things for this video. I might try that on my next run, maybe. If you're interested in seeing that, check out my stream, twitch.tv/Ratnos, might do it then. But as you can see, we killed the 2 corrupted areas, so we got these little extra chests, and each of those have parts of a rank 3 essence, and they have some mementos in them, and then the main chest always contains the cloak upgrade. So that's why it's important to kill Thrall, is to make sure you get that cloak upgrade. And that's all there is to the Horrific Visions for now. As you'll progress further, you'll eventually be able to kill all 5 of these zones, and then you'll get these masks that further increase the difficulty of the Horrific Vision, and that can allow you to get items all the way up to item level 470 as a reward from those. So that's a really cool thing that is in your future, but for now, the main thing is just doing this quest every day, or every time you get enough, coalescing visions to make a new vessel to enter the thing, and then you just get to keep upgrading your cloak. Up to now, this will be rank 3 for me. And you get to keep putting talents into your talent tree. So I have... Oh, man, I'm just short of getting my cheat death. I could have grinded for maybe a little bit longer in that Horrific Vision and gotten my cheat death. That's a shame. Should have done that. Anyways, that's going to be the end for this video. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this has helped you learn a little bit about what Horrific Visions are. If anything was confusing about this video, let me know in the comments, and I'll try my best to answer whatever questions you may have. I'll also link some Wowhead articles in the description that may also go and answer whatever questions you're looking for. But if this video did help, remember to like and subscribe, and check out my Twitch stream. I'll mostly be there and not here on YouTube for the next couple weeks. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.